They were there too. So, and Portuguese, which I didn't know, but Portuguese was very big in the
Yes.
island.
Yep, go speak Spanish.
So first, let me welcome everyone to our April Town Hall. We have been virtual since after the holidays, and so this is actually our first in-person meeting that we've had in some time. My name is Talia Burnage. I'm the Director of Outreach and Constituent Services for the Citizens Police Oversight Provision. I'm not our Executive Director, that's Anthony Arachi. He would have been here this evening, but he had a family medical issue that he needed to attend to. So, April is Autism Awareness Month, and we have some great speakers lined up for this evening. The first one is going to be Connor. He is from the Philly Autism Project, and I'll invite him up at this time to tell you a little bit about the work that his agency does.
Thank you. It's good to see everyone tonight. So I'm Connor. I'm a project coordinator with the Drexel Autism Institute, and we work with the CERT Collaborative, which is the Autism Services Education Resources and Training Center. And we are a partnership with like medical centers for autism research, universities, and other providers in all throughout Pennsylvania. We provide trainings to different departments and on various subjects, and justice initiatives is one of our initiatives. So I also work for the Philadelphia Autism Project, which is more Philadelphia focused, which we were founded 2013 by the Office of Former City Council Member at Large, Dennis O'Brien. We also continue to work with Councilmember Michael Driscoll. So we offer trainings for families and different providers throughout the city, the different learning courses. We have an event calendar for different events. We actually have an event coming up in May for a listening session, so if anyone is interested in registering for that, you can go to Philly Autism, go phillyAP.org, and it's just to hear about like, what's going on in the community, what needs to be improved, and gather information like that. So in terms of the justice initiatives, we've been offering training since 2014 for police and other justice systems in an effort to increase knowledge and awareness of autism. So the trainings are to help professionals understand common autistic traits and how to communicate to them and have more positive interactions with individuals with autism. So we also have some trainings like geared towards families and things like that. If you want to go online, you can go to paautism.org and you can see the training, see all the resources there. You can schedule a training to have someone like do a virtual training with your organization. I can take questions now if there are any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm Commissioner Rosado Thomas. Have you come across many problems with police officers interacting with children or young adults with autism?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, there's a lot of interactions. There can be a lot of misunderstandings by the way autistic individuals react to certain things, or certain like hand movements, like this, autistic individuals sometimes stim, or they don't necessarily like to make eye contact, which can, cause friction that way. So yeah, there can definitely be adverse interactions where like it doesn't seem like compliance, but it's actually just something the autistic individual is not comfortable with. So we tell a lot of families, if you're comfortable, disclose your diagnosis. That way, kind of work with the officer and avoid some of those mistakes.
So have you have a better understanding with many police officers in regards to autistic children or young adults?
Yes, yeah, there's definitely been, like I said, since 2014, there's been, I think, over 1,000 organizations have done the trainings with us, and so, yeah, there's definitely been some good progress.
Thank you.
Then have you guys partnered, I missed it, I'm sorry. Have you guys partnered with CHOP?
We do some trainings with CHOP, and we work with like some of the autism services there. I think Jamil from CHOP is going to be here later today. He's like a parent liaison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
He works for the Center of Autism Research for Children's Hospital.
Yeah, and he's hosting an event actually in South Philly. I'm sure he'll mention later on, I think on the 29th, with the sheriff's office. Yes.
It's actually a law enforcement, and autism fun day and resource fair. So there's gonna be a bunch of different organizations that are gonna be there. CPOC is one of them. We're gonna have food, there's gonna be moon dance, I look forward to the, flyer.
Another one popped in my head, I'm sorry. So have any of your families who children or young adults are autistic, have they filed complaints against, police officers?
No, I don't know off the top of my head, I'm sure
Okay.
there have been.
Okay,
We work with, so Kate Gubin is our, justice liaison. She does a lot of work with like the local courts and police services, and she wasn't able to make the day, but I can check and see if there are, you know.
I'm gonna give you my business card, and with the information you can send to me, that would be good. Thank you.
Of course. Yes.
Has the Philadelphia Police Department reached out to the Drexel Justice Program, and if so, what has been the response? Does Drexel work directly with the Philadelphia Police Department or the Philadelphia Training Academy in working with persons who are neurodiverse or on the spectrum?
I believe so. I know that we've done like virtual trainings. We had officers come and speak to families from the Philadelphia Police Department.
Let me clarify. As a person who is on the spectrum, dealing with the police department can be quite unsettling and unnerving. Some of the things that I have found with some of my younger cohorts who are a little bit more neurodiverse, the touching, the yelling, the grabbing, the placing in a corner, the pushing back, escalating a situation when they have been told by numerous people, the person is autistic, the person is autistic, the person is autistic. So what has your program done with Philadelphia Police specifically in order for them to become aware of the police behavior and how to de-escalate and stop harming children who are on the spectrum and also other persons with disabilities?
So I know that's one of the things, I don't have like the specific things that have been done like off the top of my head, but I know that is one of the things in our training that we try to address. And like I said, like, you know, the different police precincts can sign up for trainings, and we do work with like different, you know, or like precincts and judges in the area to try to increase that awareness and understanding.
But it's kind of a voluntary thing. It's not like there's a program mandated. There's nothing really that is specific.
On our end, yes, it is voluntary. But
Okay.
yeah, we offer those trainings.
And so with the police department, you don't have any contract with them. You're not, the whole department, the head of the department, Daniel Outlaw, has she reached out to you or any of her cohorts
Yes,
to
ma'am.
get something on a more permanent and substantial and tangible training with the police department? That each officer, especially the ones out on the street, who should be aware of how to deal with persons not only neurodiverse, but in mental crisis. Have they reached out to you, and is there a large program specifically geared towards that?
So I'm not aware if there's like a contract or anything like that, please, but I know that we have.
So I have a question. Can you talk a little bit about some of the trainings that you provide and like what goes into that?
Yeah, so some, like I said, there's, so Kate, who she works with like a lot of the justices in the area, holds like discussions about like, she does a lot of trainings on what to look for, like what autistic, like some of the autistic traits that people might exhibit, and you know, how to de-escalate and communicate with autistic people in ways that help to remain calm and you know, things like that. So, there's a lot of, there's been a lot of Zoom sessions, and I'm not sure, you know, prior to the pandemic, what the trainings look like. But there's been a lot of online, like regular check-ins and discussions.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And now I'm going to bring up Mr. Jamil Owens, who is from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia Center for Autism Research.
I apologize for being late. Parking is crazy around here, but I'm here. So my name is Jamel Owens. I'm the Family Relations Coordinator for the Center of Autism Research. I'm also an autism parent. So my main objective in my position is to not sit behind the desk and kind of mitigate what services are sent out to our community, but actually be out in the community, in the field, doing what I need to do to get education, but also resources in the hands of people that need it. That's solely what I've been doing by myself since 2014. Started my own professional platform called The Awesome Show, which speaks specifically for autism fathers, but knowing how impactful I've been with the fathers, it's a transition period for the whole entire family and the community. So I speak to anybody, doesn't matter if it's mom, dad, grandparents, try to help them out. I've been involved with IEP meetings, doing trainings, anything possible. The flyer that you actually see out for the Philadelphia Autism Town Hall, that's my event. So I started that in Norristown with the Norristown Police Department. Came over here to Philadelphia, be the department with somebody, individuals over at the Sheriff's Department, they was very inclined to partner with me. One of them had an E status on the spectrum. We made the event happen. My next stop will be Camden, New Jersey with the Camden Police Department. I'm ex-corrections and I'm also a volunteer firefighter. So I have the trifecta of all points to actually give to a family or even any professional that comes to me and say, hey, I want to know a little bit more or what can we do for my organization. It's a little bit more of what I've been doing with Philly Native, and if you guys got any questions about autism, specifically from a parent's perspective, what not a lot of people know about, I can answer that. From the professional, I can answer that. From the law enforcement, I can answer that too. Came in, heard a little bit of the conversation. Is there training out there? No. And I'm gonna tell you that from a parent. This is not even a professional speaking right now. There's not training out there. And the reason why is because I fear for my son to actually go out to the streets every single day. What does communication look like? Communication is as simple as me using hand gestures, but it's also as simple as my son walking away when he's given a command from an officer. Now, we can't rely just on saying, oh, well, it's your duty in order to be able to apprehend or stop my son if he's doing something wrong. But we actually have to come together and hold each other accountable. So as much as you guys have the tools on your belt to actually deal with the public, what are we doing to help assist you guys to understand what you need to know about our children? So I implore anybody here to come down to that actual autism town hall, because we'll be talking about nonverbal autism. So people who actually use letter boards, who actually use iPads to communicate. What do you want to do? Yes. So there's so many different things, but what happens when you pull somebody that's not able to communicate with you effectively? What does that look like? When we get calls for fire department, the first thing that we notice is that when you get on the radio, 9 times out of 10, it's not what you see on the scene. You have to do a scene size up. As soon as you get on that scene to see exactly what's going on and what you can actually do. What does that mean? My son could be walking there. He could be excited to see you, or he could be shy to see you. How are you actually going to interact with him? You know that keys, sirens, lights, things like that could be a trigger for him. Did we ever take that into consideration? Now, we need these tools in order to do our job, but is there anything else that we can do, that we can come together to actually say, okay, in this protocol, in this designation of an individual, this is the protocol that we need to follow. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make an impact. I'm not here to sit there and bash everybody, but I'm here to bridge these communities together. And it starts with these types of conversations. Any question that you guys ask me, please ask away. There's no question too ignorant. I have been through the ringer already in life. So if y'all have anything for me, please ask.
Well, as I asked the young man, I'm going to ask you the same question. Have you come across, and with your son, I have a granddaughter that's autistic, but she's very verbal. She's 15 and she's in her first year of high school. So I understand, but have you come across any problems in regards to the police department? Have you had to file complaints in regards to children or young adults of autism?
I haven't come in personal contact with local police here. I moved out into Montgomery County, so I come in contact with police there, and I had an issue with them. So what that means is interpretation of what you see. Coming up to the car, if you see my hand, if you see my son fumbling with his hands, that's a stimming. That's a mechanism for him to come down. If How are you going to take that as an officer? Are you going to take that as education, maybe drug usage? It's things like that that we got to kind of think outside the box. Fortunately for my interaction with Philadelphia Police Department years previously and currently, probably like maybe 6 months ago, it has all been positive. It hasn't been anything negative, even though they weren't effectively educated about autism. They took the time to kind of step back and let the situation resolve itself and just observe. And that's one of the most powerful tools, is that you don't know. Just take a step back and observe. And then if you're able to actually reintroduce yourself into the situation, say, hey, is there anything else I can do? That's something that we actually teach parents and people who are neurotypical in the community to actually do when they see a child actually having a situation or an episode at a time.
Okay, here's my next question. What, as Commissioner for CPOC, what can we do to help your organization and just like this young man to help? What is it that we can do to provide any kind of help to you?
Get me in the precincts.
I'm sorry, what?
Get me in the precincts to talk to the officers.
Okay.
That's all I mean. So get me in the precincts to talk to the
Oh,
officers.
get you in the district.
Like this is I don't do this because I get paid for it. I do this because this is my son. So my child is anybody else's child out there.
Exactly.
So this is more than me. So you can look me up on Google and you can see everything that I've done. Since 2014, I've done so much stuff that's been free that it's not even about that anymore. It's about making a change and a difference in this community. And the community, I mean, Philadelphia as a whole. If I can actually impact people all over the country, I will do that. But it starts home first, right? We gotta start here. So that's all I need to do is get in front of the officers and be able to tell my story and give them a resource, which is my business card. So even if they don't know, they can call me at any time and be like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I had this situation, or I'm in this situation right now. Is there any assistance you can do? Right now, with the AR3 team, the Philadelphia Fire Department, I talk to them. I go in there and I train with them.
Okay.
So this is not something that,
So you weren't able to get into the districts in Philadelphia? No, not at all. Have you reached out to our commissioner?
no, I have not. And the context that we have for the Philadelphia Town Hall, we reached out to her. I don't think she's able to actually attend the Autism Town Hall, obviously because of reasons. I get it, that's fine. But I did speak to Captain John Burke. He's a good friend of mine, so he's supposedly, cross fingers, going to have me in front of the next graduating class just for a little bit, 30, 45 minutes at a time, just to explain who I am and the importance, just to give them some tools for being out in the field. That's the whole thing, is just word recognition, what things to look out for. When you actually don't know, give them my card, give me a call at any time. That's what the resource is about.
That's a great idea, yeah, to be able to speak in front of the cadets that are getting ready to come out to the streets, because,
Yeah, I mean, listen. So I remember my first time actually going into Corrections Academy, and one of my graduating officers, one of my senior officers, told me is that you want to meet people who've been in this job for years, to set in their ways. Then you want to meet the people that are just like you, that are easy to influence. You have to determine where you want to fall in there. So I meet people who are my senior officer, and I learn from them, and they learn from me. I think the most effective way, especially with autism and definitely with the prevalence rates increasing, is to hit them straight from the academy. Get some information to them, let them know that it's accessible. So, hey, listen, just like you guys got to stay in shape, you got to go to the gym, that's up to you. We want to give you the opportunity to give you a little information, but it's up to you to read up more about it, to actually be inclined and be informed about it.
great idea. Thank you.
No problem. Any more?
I'm completely impressed with you, sir. My hat is off to you. Thank you. You said you need to get into the precincts. Have you reached out, obviously, you've reached out to them, correct, each precinct?
I've reached out to, I honestly, just like Joe, honestly,
What
Joe,
was the response from them?
no response.
Zero.
Zero response, but in all fairness, you gotta just take into consideration everything that's going on in the community right now. I'm a realist. I'm not gonna say, oh, you gotta stick to my problems, it's me. There's so much other shit going on around here that you just gotta be real with it. But let me get my 15 minutes with you. Let me be able to talk to you, even if it's a telephone call, and I take so many different meetings in a car, on the phone, it's ridiculous. Let me just get that time, if possible. and I'll make it worth it. You know, the return on investment is lives are saved, communication is bridged in the community and also with the police department, but also too, it's opening the doors for other things to actually happen. So I think in my mind, and I might be a little too far-fetched, is that we have a wall of so many different situations and issues going on because we're imperfect people. Everybody got their stuff, you know? But if we can start attacking things one by one, everything molds in together. All right, you got somebody with autism, more than likely you know somebody with alcoholism. The next thing is you know somebody with drugs. We can start attacking these things one by one. But it takes people like me to be out in the field like that, actually doing it. And it also takes people like me out in the field collaborating with other people that are like-minded like me. This is not a one-man mission.
I agree. As a parent, one of the things that have been implemented in smaller communities so that people can identify if somebody is autistic is similar to a medical alert bracelet, except instead of it saying medical alert, it has the autism sign with a circle on it, so that anybody from a distance can see that that person is on the spectrum disorder, especially when it comes to police officers and certain people within the community who may feel uncomfortable with their behaviors. Would something like that, do you think, be feasible and implementable in a town or in a city such as Philadelphia, where the police officers in each area, each district, right? Was capable, when they're walking the beat, to actually meet these persons with autism, get to know them so that they're not taken aback or taken off guard by the behaviors that are being presented, because a lot of these behaviors are quite atypical for them. But officers see it as combative. You're not making eye contact. You must be a criminal. Why aren't you talking to me? You're being disruptive. All of these things that are being thrown, that right now in our prisons, we have people on the spectrum who have their behaviors that are uncontrollable to them have thus been criminalized. So how can we figure out a way to bridge that gap so that we're not criminalizing our people?
We can, and it's a heavy equation, because once again, we're not saying, okay, officer, it's up to you, captain, it's your fault that you don't understand what my son and daughter is. It's your fault that those officers under your control don't understand the training. But in the same token, as I'm a parent and a professional, I turn to the parents and say, it's your fault because they hold meetings like this, and yet these seats are empty. So we gotta hold everybody accountable. What that looks like is, hey, if I gotta have a spread out here to get some people some free food or something, that's what I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna make sure that you stay for the entire time so we can educate you, but also listen to what you actually need in the community. We can't put 60, 70, 80% on one side and expect the other side to come collectively together to work. That's not how it works. We're far past that. What we need is to educate each other, because I think a lot of people don't understand how the law actually works and some of the ramifications of the law and what the responsibilities of the officer is, but also too, that they are people just like us. When you take their bags off, they got problems at home. They got people in their family that have autism too. So how can we bridge that? Is by making sure we introduce each other, where we have these connections, where we have these meetings. It's really getting on that personal level. And that's what it takes somebody to stand up, you know, not saying myself, but really myself. Getting up front of here, telling my story, telling some of the situations that I've been through, and saying, what about your story? Come on up here and share with us next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can you talk a little bit more about the autism resource fair? Some of the partners that are coming together?
You. So I have emails galore right now. So I believe by at least the end of this week, we're going to have 90 organizations participating in this. This is 90 organizations that serve the autism community, or organizations, businesses of mothers, dads who have children on the spectrum and you will never know. So they hold a very, very sincere and personal relationship with the autism community. And all I did was give them a call and said, this is a community event. We're not charging you. Please don't charge us. We just want you to show up, and they're here. The most difficult part was probably just aligning the panel together. And the reason why is because I want everybody represented. and then putting the questions together. I don't want nobody bashing anybody. I want pure information given out. I want to give the community opportunity to talk to those respective individuals in the police department and the fire department and probation, but also too, afterwards, I want to see people pull these officials aside and say, hey, you know what, my name is such and such. How can I get to work with you? How can I work with you in our community? What are some things that you can help me with my child or my family? So it's so many different parts. You guys, you've helped me out. The sheriff's department, obviously, the fire department, there's so many different entities in this. But at the end of the day, what was the biggest entity? Was my heart. That's it. That was the biggest part of this, because if I would have never made that call to Daryl Roberts, none of this would have happened. And I knew it had to happen. It had to happen for somebody's kid out there. So that's the difficult part.
We're happy to be your partner.
Of course. I'm happy to have you. Any more questions? Anything?
What's your website?
My website, I don't have one. You want social media? Okay. Technology. The Awesome Show. So it's The Awesome Show. So it's TheAusomeShow. And that started back in 2014. Tell you a story. I started it paying $250 a week that I didn't have, but I felt that strongly that another father out there needed to hear my story. And it was, I did the programming, got the guests, everything I did from the bottom up. And then after that, I still felt the hunger to serve people more. And I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I had to do something. COVID hit, everything pretty much shut down, but I started it back up. And then I just recently did season 1. It was online television as well too. And now I'm back onto the podcast, and now I got this position. So I still use my platform to promote what I do here at SHOP. But mainly you see me out in the community. I'm constantly doing this. This is about literally my 5th event that I'm doing in the past 2 weeks. I'm never behind the desk. I'm never at home. You can't impact somebody's life doing either. You got to be out here in the community. You got to answer those hard questions. And if you don't answer those hard questions, it's okay to be like, let me get the answer and get back to you. That's one of the big keys with it,
Well, allow me to share, as a commissioner, what we're doing is that we are trying to get transparency and accountability for survivors of abuse by police officers. But we're also trying to work with the community that with our police department plus our community. So, autism, as I said, my granddaughter and my great nephew, and my sister's granddaughter, she has ADHD. But it is something it's serious, and a lot of people are not too much aware, because I can tell right away with my granddaughter, especially, she's 5'9" and weighs 266 pounds. And she's tall like my son. And I understand. So sometimes I feel it's like, what can I do more as a commissioner when what we're trying to do is bring accountability and transparency for victims of any abuse.
So you're asking one of the most toughest things in society, and that's
Yes.
to pull from heartstrings, to get people to actually tell their stories.
Yes.
It's a long road, but it's something that you have to be consistent on. Like going to the gym, doing anything in life, you have to be consistent on to get a result. I think, consistently holding things like this, workshops,
Yes.
where you're bringing in other organizations that specifically target that particular community is very helpful. Even if 1 or 2 people show up, that's 1 or 2 people that know 500 people, whether it be social media or whether it be personally in the community. You have to keep on going. I've done events personally myself that has been like 5 people, and 2 of them I knew. So that didn't discourage me. That just meant, I got to move a little different. I got to put out marketing a little bit more. I got to get with other community partners and leaders and bring them in and now expand my visibility. So it's not so much of, what I see in your eyes is that I'm going to do this. What I hear is like, but we got to end that. And you don't know me, but however I can help you, I'm willing to do so.
Okay,
And that's a gift that I give to everybody. Whatever I can do to help you, I'll do it. Even if it doesn't relate to autism, I've been around somebody.
So, one page alone I have 5,000 followers. So please, you have to reach, I'm gonna give you my business card, reach me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, and also on Instagram, and I want to put it out there for you, most
Okay.
definitely. So
Okay.
I definitely want to put it out there for you.
And same for me.
Because,
Yeah.
yes, most definitely, thank you.
No, thank you, I appreciate it.
my mother is the Commonwealth Star,
Okay,
so
yeah,
we'll talk.
oh yeah, we'll definitely talk.
Yeah, and I also am very good friends with the Biddle family,
Okay,
so
okay, so, you know, and that offer, I got cards for everybody, so
Thank you.
you reach out to me, that's what I'm here for, you know? Any more questions?
You need funding. Yes.
Mucho,
Are you
mucho.
a 501c3 yet?
I am, my nonprofit, but I've been so engaged with this job and really, you know, give you another short story. I did not graduate high school. So, 16, I was on my own. My mom suffered from schizophrenia, depression. She kicked me out. She didn't trust me. So I was bouncing around from house to house. I went to basically one of the best schools in Philadelphia at the time. Hopefully it still is. But I went to Central High School, class 259. Never got my diploma because I wasn't able to open up to someone there and say, hey, I got problems going on at home. Can you help me? And that's another issue that as men, I'm not even gonna say as Black men, we have that problem, but as men in general, we need to open up and start talking about that. So, got my GED and was able to navigate through life, just ups and downs, was able to find my mom. She was homeless on the streets of Philadelphia for years. I never knew where she was at. I finally found her, and she had stage 4 cancer. I watched her die. But it was a lesson in that. So all the time that I had this built-in anger because I'm like, oh, well, nobody cares about my situation. Nobody cares about my mom. There was a blessing waiting for me in those moments of spending with my mom. And then that started working on my heart. So then when I got the diagnosis, started getting angry again at the world. But then my son started working on my heart. And to the point where I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna help everybody. You know, the 501(c)(3), it's on the corner right now because I want to make an impact here. My boss knew I didn't have a degree. There was people with degrees going for this job. And he looked at me and said, but you are out there. There's a difference, book smart and street smart, right? They teach you that. They teach you that in the hook. You gotta be street smart. Teach you that in the academy. My instructor told me, he said, when you go in that prison, you are a prisoner. That door locks behind you, you are a prisoner. And there's more of them than you. You got 5 minutes to maintain yourself before the CERT team comes and gets you. That's a fact. What life has taught me is that you go hard for somebody that invests in you. And my director, Bob Schultz, he said, you got the job for a reason. I want you to go out there and do what you do. I'm not even going to bother you. So I've been going hard for this job. Like I haven't even been doing my nonprofit. I've been going hard with this job and putting, you know, this organization on a pedestal first. Because I believe that, you know, I could lose this position tomorrow, but my name still stands. You guys won't remember my name more than anything. I can go anywhere else in the world. I could go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Y'all want to remember my name, not my position. So I make sure I do everything 100% in everything that I do. So to answer your question.
Yes. Boy, all right, you're just gonna figure out how to do some fun.
Thank you.
It's no problem, thank you. That's it? Any questions? All right, good, thank you.
And I just want to acknowledge our commissioners that are here in the room. We have Ms. Ozara Thomas,
Hello.
Elder Melody DeBose is here,
Good evening.
and Hassan Bennett is here. So now we have come to the public comment portion. And this is an opportunity for anyone to discuss any policing concerns that they have, issues, or just make a comment. And we have a mic here. Is anyone interested in?
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Let me turn around a little bit. My name is Sean Butts, I'm the captain of the 17th District. We do have training. It's not considered specifically to autism, but we have the CIT training, which is crisis intervention training. And it also helps with anyone with mental health issues. So let me give you a little background, like this very little background. When I first started the training, it was about 8 years ago. I was in a class and we had people from the health field, people from the hospitals, the area hospitals that house people with mental health issues, such as Misericordia, Germantown Hospital, and I forget the other one. Well, I was upset, and I was really upset because I know as an officer, when we bring somebody with a mental health issue that is going through an episode, we take them and get help. By the time we get back to the station, that person is either back on the street or at the station waiting for us. And so I said to the mental health people, so why is it that when we bring them there for help, they're released? Well, they have underlying problems, drug problems. Hello, doesn't everybody have underlying problems? So I explained to them about a situation where we had an 18-year-old, no, excuse me, she was 14 years old, but she looked like she was 18. She was 320 pounds. She was 5'10". She was extremely combative, fighting and spitting. Had come officers down so we didn't assault this woman. I actually pulled her t-shirt over her head so she wouldn't spit on anybody to not to hurt her. When we got to the hospital, which was Germantown Hospital, the orderly came out, so I kicked that off her head as in the veins. So we crossed the threshold of the hospital, she got approved. Crossed the threshold of the hospital, they took the t-shirt off her head. She spit on the first person she got. Then she started fighting. Unfortunately, what people don't understand is before we bring them to a mental health institution or hospital, they don't know what we went through before that. And sometimes we can explain to them if they just want to listen. And the problem is nobody wants to listen, even with the police officers. Another thing out there, when I was a captain of police radio, family members don't give enough information to the call takers when they're calling the police. If you have a son or a daughter that's going through a mental health crisis, you need to communicate that to the call taker. That way, that information is in the job. If that information is in the job, the officer doesn't know what he or she is walking into. All they know is somebody is acting up, acting a fool, and we gotta go there and be police. Not, you need to go there and reassess, take the correct action, and either bring the individual to home or bring the individual to a hospital where they can get help. So when we say holding people accountability, the person who makes that phone call has to get that information to the call taker. And that call taker then has to transfer it to the dispatcher, get it to the police officers. We don't have all that information. And people, we all, even us, sometimes I criticize the police because that's what we do. We're expected to get it right all the time because we're professionals. The problem is that if we don't stay up with the training, we lose it. I can teach you how to type, and you never use it. You think you remember how to type?
I'm a writer, so yeah.
But if I taught you sign language,
I
today,
will write.
and you never used it, did you remember it?
No.
That's a natural.
That's a good scenario right
That's a
there.
natural human.
So when they do call dispatch, when people call in 911 and they call dispatch and the family just says, we need help, they don't go into great details that this person may be autistic, have mental issues, and I don't know who doesn't suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm sure many of your officers suffer from that. because I know for a fact it does happen, or anxiety, it happens. I mean, I always say that no officer or no human being should see another dead person. I really don't, I don't think that we were built to see a loved one or anyone dead on the side. So, that takes a lot. That takes a lot for you to do. When I say accountability, the reason why we were created was because of what happened to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Steve, yes, and many other, issues. But one of the main things with CPOC is that we want to work with our police department and our community to come to an understanding, to come to the respect, because respect is a big thing for me. And I need to tell you this, Captain, many years ago, my ex-husband was a captain from the 17th.
Really?
Yeah, Steve Sadler.
Really?
Yes.
I know you.
Yeah. I just saw him Sunday. We had a memorial for our son Moses. So, yes.
Also getting back to the training I had, the CIT training, which I never finished Sunday.
Yes.
So I was upset when I, talked to the middle people. I walked out of the classroom and one of the instructors said, I said, listen, don't waste your time. You know what I mean? The department always has a habit of giving us this training based on time. I said, I came to this class not because I had to, but because I had family members that suffer. And I want to give a family member that's in crisis, not to be handled by these people up here that's giving us a story. She said, Sean, please, just give it another chance. Sit down. So, went back to class. The third day, now mind you, I suffer from mental health issues. I take medicine every day. So, the third day, we were given an assignment. One, we had to give an interview for a job. Two, we had to find a license plate off a car within the parking lot. And I can't remember the other things. But before you did that, you had to put this headphone in. And whatever volume you wanted, you had to adjust it to whatever volume it was. And then after that, you couldn't touch it the rest of the day. So if you were in the classroom and there was a lot of people talking, you kept it loud. You weren't allowed to touch it. If you thought it was too loud, you turned it down, you weren't able to touch it. So throughout the day, because this happened all day, this didn't happen for an hour, all day, you had noise in the background saying, Dominic, you're a failure. You're a failure. Fuck you, killer, 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 killer. You're stupid, you're stupid. You had to find a license tag. And now you listen to all this in the back of your head, like, what's going on? How can I find this tag? Or how can I conduct a job interview with all this going on in my head? It's like, yo, this is just a little bit of what people are dealing with mental health issues that you're dealing with. And then I started to cry afterwards. I'm like, wow, this is something we do. And then I actually got to really enjoy the class. The caveat at the end of the class was you got a taser. The taser was the last resort if all of everything should fail. But believe it or not, the CIT training also helps you to talk to someone who's about to commit suicide. It used to be you had to go to a detective division or a central division, which is the homicide, for somebody to come out and talk to someone to not commit suicide. So they are arming the officers to be a little bit more sensitive to issues with people with mental health issues. Every candidate or every person who graduated the academy is CIT trained. And because of the Baltimore thing, everybody in the city is being CIT trained. And everybody's being part of their taser. Also with the Walla Walla situation, with Police Ready, a lot of people don't know it, and we now have crisis intervention officers and health workers in the room to handle calls. Like if you call and say your son has autism, he's suffering from a mental health crisis, they're able to talk to you and get the information, track the information they need to get to the officers. Also, they're there for someone who wants to commit suicide. Instead of calling the suicide hotline, they can talk to them and redirect. So we got a lot of things out there. A lot of things are not known to the public, but they are doing things. And I think the thing is that if it don't affect you, it's just training. If it doesn't affect you, don't have like I had my granddaughter, my majority of the family on my wife's side. suffer from mental health issues. My granddaughter, she has autism. It's kind of hard to, do everything. It's like learn. It's like a child. It doesn't come with directions. You have to learn. Even as parents dealing with or grandparents dealing with people with children with autism, it's still a learning experience. You're not going to get everything right. With that being said, that we still have to be patient. The officers have a lot on their plate. Just 2 years ago, they were getting bottles and bricks going out. So, you gotta be patient. I'm not saying it's gonna ever be right, we're ever gonna get it right, but we're working in that direction.
Thank you.
Any questions for me?
I got a question. Do you guys have, the premise reports?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a way?
So premise reports is purpose history, what actually happened at that house prior to police arrival, the last few times it came out. It's not always accurate, and then sometimes you might have an episode where you might not be at your house.
Yeah.
So that premise report don't always come out.
Is there a way, because that was the whole, function with the Georgetown one, is to get people comfortable enough to say, hey, could I fill out some information about an individual in my household? So is that something that we could do, like a campaign, to really put that in front of people to say, hey, you know what, if all else fails, this is like a life-saving tool, a communication between us and you guys on what's needed in the community. Is that something that we can recreate specifically for those with mental health, something that will be current and up to date? Because I know it's you put them in, you gotta go through, you gotta make sure everybody's still at the address. It's a clerical nightmare. But is there something is that possibly an avenue that we could explore that could be done in the community? Not so much citywide, but maybe start at different districts and just see how it works out.
I'm sure it can. I'm sure there's a lot of political evolution. You gotta work around with that. It depends on what it is. Now, if it was the judge's house, we would have information at the judge's house and, be careful, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But for someone with autism in a city that has 1.5 million people in it, I doubt it. But can it be done? It can be done. Again, it's a hurdle.
Yeah.
Okay.
My concern is in police academy training, you're taught officer safety first, and then most of your training is how to take down the bad guys for officer safety. You are not trained in mental health as therapists, psychologists, counselors, mental health workers, who actually spent a part of their time learning from educators and learned professors on how to deal with mental health crisis. I don't think it's fair to put the onus on the police department to respond to somebody who's having a mental health crisis. Police are there for criminal activity and solving crimes and keeping the peace for the most part. But you are not there to relegate, delegate, counsel, and calm down a patient. You're not trained to do so. You can have a CIT class. That's great. But people in mental health study for minimum 2.5 years, maximum 15 years. And they still get it wrong when it comes to working with people who are on the spectrum disorder or who are having a mental health crisis. So why does the police department think that, one, they should be responding to mental health crises, and two, why is it when the police respond, the mental health crisis now becomes a criminal act? Even though we know the Supreme Court has ruled persons with disability cannot be held accountable for their actions due to their disabilities. It's called mentis incompetus. And yet, your police department, and no offense to you, I speak on the state as a whole, has criminalized more people with mental health issues than people who are carrying guns in our city right now. Our jails are filled with people who have mental health issues. And yes, they all wrap around services. And if the services aren't being wrapped around in the city, then they need to be defunded and we need to find someone else, because behavioral health services in the city does not offer mental health services to the people in the community on a whole. So what are we going to do to stop criminalizing people in mental health so that they don't end up in prison or worse, dead on the street? Because Mr. Wallace was known to that community. Those officers knew him. They knew he had mental health issues, and he is still dead. So obviously, the training you guys have gotten is not helpful. Now, there's another young man a couple years back who had Down syndrome. 2 officers beat the shit out of him. You can look at a person with Down syndrome and outright know they have Down syndrome. They have telltale signs, but yet those 2 officers took it upon themselves to beat that child. So tell me again how your training is really helping the mental health crisis in this community.
So what was your question? Because there was multiple questions and quite a few statements in. What's your question?
Go ahead, just,
So just give me one question now to start with.
why don't you just respond with what you were thinking? We'll go with that.
I was thinking a lot, like I said, you gave me a lot. Tell me what you want to,
Go ahead, just respond with what you were thinking.
Man, I'm not here to stop the chomp. Tell me what you want, ask your question.
All right, so 1, why is it that the police department is handling medical issues, mental health crisis issues, when you are not trained to do so? EMTs are trained, not police. 2, why are police
One at a
officers,
time.
why are police officers still criminalizing mental health crisis and taking it out on the person who is having the crisis? I have watched more police beat people up in the park because they're having a mental health crisis. And then they say he was combative, he was obnoxious, he was obstructive, he didn't take orders. How can you tell a schizophrenic to sit down when they don't even know they're on the planet? These cops know that in Clark Park, knew that that man was paranoid schizophrenic, knew everything about him. And instead of calling an ambulance or instead of calling his family, they beat him up, busted his head on the tracks in front of all of us, and then covered the whole thing up and threatened citizens when we said we were gonna file a complaint. So tell me again, how your training is going to alleviate those issues when those issues all happened within the past 3 years.
Well, like I said, after the Walter Wallace incident, we had additional training, which everyone now is required to be CIT trained, which is the crisis intervention.
How long is that class?
40 hours?
Are we able to see, did you take a test at the end of the class?
I believe so.
Is it a written documentation or is somebody standing in front of you talking to you?
So we're documentation.
So can we see that?
I'm sure you can.
Fantastic. Can I get your card? Yeah, I'd like to get that from you. I'd like to see what training you guys are getting, because it's not working. And maybe it's because some officers just don't care. Maybe the training is proficient. Maybe it's just the attitude of the cops. And again, she has said, a lot of officers are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. You've gone through riots, you've gone through mass layoffs, you're dealing with an FOP guy who has been stealing money from your own pensions. I get it. McNesby should be in prison for the money he took from you guys and your pensions. So I get it, and I get why cops are leaving Philadelphia. I get that. But in the meantime, we still have people who are being beaten for mental health issues. How do we fix it?
I don't think they have the answer to fix it, because I think it's gonna take everyone, not just the police department, but I think, and this is where CPOC, when I say transparency, accountability, we have to come as a whole, because, excuse me, we're in a group. Is that correct?
This is no attack on you personally, sir.
I stood here and I listened to the young lady speaking.
I'm not attacking you personally. This is not personal. No. You happen to just be in the uniform at the microphone. If anybody else had gone up through the same questions with the things, this is not personal to you. This is about the police.
But I mean,
People with
this is
mental health.
supposed to be a.
And let me point something out real quick. That snarky remark escalates the situation. So even in your CIT training, that way that you just made that off-putting comment is a fine example of how people feel disrespected by the police. I said to you, this is not a personal attack on you. You said it felt personal. I said to you, it is not anybody in uniform, and then you rolled your eyes, you laughed, and there you go. Look at your micro expression right now. I'm smart. Those micro expressions and the behavior that the police officer gives to somebody who's on the spectrum, such as myself, who has PTSD, such as myself, we pick up on these minute little things because we are already on edge. We've already been beaten, raped, thrown to the curb, doxxed in public by people we expect to protect us. So when we approach you, we are already on edge, in fear, and have no trust because officers have not treated us with the respect and the compassion that we deserve.
Okay, sorry. I'm here I'm just here just trying to give us some information
Thank you.
if I can possibly can to help anybody. I know this is a learning experience for everybody here. Like I said, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. We appreciate you being here. And if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about PPD's Behavioral Health Unit, our policy analyst, Tim Perez, wrote a really good report. It's available on our website.
There's also a separate report that just details the entire crisis intervention response procedure for the entire city, like there's DBH, IDS, and PTP, as well as the fire department. So that's also on our website.
Yes, and actually, one of the captains from the Behavioral Health Unit spoke at our last town hall. So if anyone wants to go to our YouTube page, the video is available there. Do we have any other public comments?
Yes. I have to stand up though, right?
Yeah, we can all hear you.
Hi, my name is Constance. I actually started a petition to start public school for children with autism in Philadelphia, and I put together a protest on Saturday to protest the school district of Philadelphia because we don't have a public school for children with autism. So my son was cut with scissors in a daycare when he was 3.5 on Green Street. And he is autistic. He was considered severe, but through speech and all these other therapies, we could understand him. When I found out what happened, I took him to Flower Town, and they didn't want to mandate report it, even though I was there for like 2.5 hours, so I had to go through stuff with that. And then I took him to Chestnut Hill, and everybody was trying to figure out where these marks on his back because he couldn't say what it was. It looked like it was like a heater because it was 2 very thick marks with a little bit of blood at the bottom of it. So 2 weeks later, he says to my mom, and then he starts saying people, Mindy is mean, she used green scissors on my back. I have emails and proof of this woman, Mindy, saying that she punished my son, and when I emailed the director, she didn't really give me an answer. So I wasn't quick enough with getting my son out of there after that, because who said they punished him with 3.5-year-old with autism. Granted, he wasn't diagnosed, but I also have autism, and I know what it looks like. So if I'm telling you what it is as a mother, this is a diagnosis for you guys to like help my son the way he needs it. So when I found out, the first thing I did was go to the police station in that area, and they told me I needed to bring my son in, and that he had to say it to them. Okay, so it was at night, 7:30. I did that, and when my mom told me he said it, I blinked out, and I'm like, he's not lying. He's not lying. He put the words together. For him to barely talk, to say Mindy is mean, even the color of the scissors, that is an autistic child. They remember things, so I know he's not lying. So I gone to the police station. He said exactly the same thing. Mindy's mean, green scissors. Took him to DHS. DHS told him because he's autistic, they won't even charge the person. So what is the point? What is the point? I'm a Black mother of an autistic child. I feel like I can't even be in this city because right now he's literally telling you guys who did it, the weapon, what happened. I went to lawyers, they won't even take it because DHS said because he is autistic, and they have him recorded, him saying the same thing. I did all the steps that I'm supposed to do as a mother and a parent to protect my child. What did you guys do? And then what are you going to do? Because like you guys are saying, I'm almost 6 feet tall, I'm 5'11". When my son is older, he's gonna be 6 feet tall. If he has a mental health crisis and he says something to y'all, are y'all gonna help him? No, you're probably gonna kill him. Or he's gonna be in jail or something like that. You're not even helping him now and he's telling you what's going on. So what am I supposed to do? So instead of me doing street justice and certain things because I'm not getting the help, this is what I'm doing now. Trying to start a school, trying to help other kids because I'm not the only parent who is going through this. I went to the school district and told them what happened. They did nothing. So the school district is doing nothing. The police, I don't really know. DHS, I don't really know. The state, I don't really know. Politicians, I don't really know. So here I am. So I'm not really looking for an answer, but that's my story.
For sharing that. I would like to talk to you after the meeting to get some more information from you, so we can see how we can help you. What's your name again?
It's constant.
Constance. You did say that. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add? No? All right, well, thank you everyone for coming out to our first in-person meeting that we've had in a while. Please tell a friend. Our next meeting takes place on the second Tuesday of the month. And so, the location is to be determined, but we move around sometimes, so we go to, different districts in the community so that we can, reach out to as many community members as possible. So if you haven't signed in, please sign our sign-in sheet so you can keep in touch with us. Please spread the word about Jamil's autism inclusion fair. We will be sending out an email with everybody's contact information that spoke today, and we'll be attaching the flyer. So please reach out to Connor from the Philly Autism Project if you are interested in learning more about that organization. And please take some food with you because, as you can see, we have plenty. So, thank you again.
Yeah, I'm signed up. I'm very good.